Sprinkles. Welcome back to another episode where we're going to be revisiting the chaos, the drama, and the contouring of Real Housewives of New Jersey Season 1. I recently recorded our first episode and then I had to take a bit of a break. We had some things going on in the family. I had my brother visiting and his wife, and then a couple days after that, my mother-in-law came out from Nova Scotia. So I had a bit of a busy month and I am so excited to be back here with all of you today. Today we're talking about Season 1, Episode 2, Mama Knows Best. This episode, it was such a shock. Like, I forgot how ridiculous Teresa is and just the family dynamics. So let's get into it. Episode 1 talked all about loyalty and cash bread. This episode's asking us what happens when control is disguised as love.
Emotional damage.
I'm going to be diving into some mommy issues, some money red flags, like hello, Teresa paying cash for everything, and one of the weirdest intern dynamics I might have ever seen. Buckle up, Bravo besties. Let's get into it. So it's May 19th, 2009 when this episode first aired. Lady Gaga is still dominating the charts with Poker Face, and the Kardashians have just introduced contour to us. It's hard to see on camera, but in 2025, we're still contouring. And while America's still trying to recover from the 2009 financial crash, we have Teresa Giudice paying cash for a bunch of clothes and also working on building her dream chateau, French-inspired home. And the furniture looks like it was ordered off a Versailles liquidation sale. The Housewives franchise is starting to blow up with Atlanta's "Who gon' check me, boo?" I love that line. It lives forever. And Bravo knows that we love a messy family. So this episode really doubles down on the Giudice Laurita family dynamics. We're going to be talking about family as currency. It's aspirational and claustrophobic all at the same time. So we open this episode with Jacqueline and Ashley hanging out in the kitchen, and Jacqueline's trying to connect with her daughter, talking about her grades and how she needs to get them up. And she's realizing that she might have spoiled Ashley.
Fell behind. So we're trying to get her grades back on track. I think I spoiled you.
No, I'm not spoiled.
Ashley is totally apathetic. She doesn't care about her finals. She's busy browsing Facebook, and this is the 2009 Facebook, like the screenshots of her laptop. It's unreal.
I know. You should be studying right now. Wait, turn this off.
Stop it.
And Ashley's just like, can I just get back to Facebook? Like, I don't want to study. And what's also really interesting here is that Jacqueline's guilt is really palpable. Now, later in the episode, she goes to a obstetrics doctor, an obstetrician, I think it's called, a gynecologist, a baby doctor. And, you know, she talks about the miscarriages that she had recently. She just had one a month ago. So we know that that's really fresh for her. And she's crying in the episode early on because she's realizing when she had Ashley, she was not in a great marriage. So then she ended up as a single mom. And you know, she wasn't really around a lot. She had to work multiple jobs to provide for her. She talks about struggling to pay rent and get food on the table. And, you know, she's feeling a lot of mom guilt around that. And I'm not a mother. We have a dog. So that's the closest I'll ever get. But I totally understand that mom guilt is something that's really real. And I think a lot of moms go through it at one point or another. She's trying to make up to the childhood that Ashley had by being really lenient on her. And it's clear that they struggle to have a positive relationship. Ashley's kind of in that rebellious phase. She's more worried about friends and Facebook and dressing up and looking great than she is about her family and really being there for them, which I get it. We all go through that phase as teenagers. But meanwhile, we also see that the Manzos are silently judging, and sometimes not so silently, because in their world, parenting equals control. And we see that happen a little bit later in the episode. So we can already see a bit of a thesis for this season kind of coming to light, which is where a mom projects her fears onto her kids, especially her daughters. The way that the daughters are treated is dramatically different from the way that Caroline treats her teenaged boys, for example. Jacqueline wants to fix the things that she thinks she broke when Ashley was growing up. Caroline wants to cement her authority. Dina wants Lexi to be perfect. And Teresa wants Gia to be famous no matter how bad of an actress she is. And we're going to get into that. So then we move on. We see Teresa walking down the street with her daughters, carrying their little handbags. And they're like, I think 6, 7, 8 years old. And it is just a chef's kiss of absolute delusion. So she talks about taking her daughters shopping a few days a week, which she notes that people think is crazy, but that she's used to it. When we cut into that scene, it is chaos. Like, I'm going to pop in, a little bit of a clip here, but we can see that the store owner is just standing there with like this look on her face of like judgment. And there's a scene where Melania literally is up at the front cash counter and she's playing with the cash machine and taking money out of it. So, maybe one day she's going to follow in her mother's footsteps. Who knows? And Teresa drops another I pay cash kind of line where you just see her pulling out wads of bills and paying for a bunch of clothes for her daughter while they're busy terrorizing the store, running around, screaming their heads off, and just generally being spoiled brats, which is kind of an interesting dynamic when we position it against how Jacqueline was with Ashley, saying that she feels like she spoiled her. And then we cut to the scene. It's almost as if they're showing us like, this is what can happen. This is how your relationship might look with your daughters when they get a little bit older, when you're spoiling them. And then we see Teresa going to her under construction chateau. It is a French chateau monstrosity, and Dina literally has a line in a confessional about like, does she want to live in a convention center or a house? And I just think it's so funny.
We've been building our dream house for the past 3 years. I'm going for a French chateau look, and there's nothing but marble, granite, and onyx everywhere.
This is my favorite bathroom in the whole house. Of course, because it's mine.
I mean, it's gorgeous, but it's so over the top. I keep on saying, do you want to live in a banquet facility or you want to live in a house? Stop it.
Let's look at the family room. Wow, I like the color. Did you paint the ceiling already?
And because this is Bravo 2009, we are meant to be impressed. So we're seeing her walking around, talking about the different building materials that they've used. It's all onyx and they haven't painted the ceiling yet and my closets aren't painted, and yelling at the construction workers, many of whom, look like somebody that ICE would be picking up these days, and telling them that this house better be finished in 3 weeks. Enough is enough. I'm ready to move in. So then we also have a subplot in this episode about Gia auditioning. So while they're at the clothing store shopping, Teresa gets a phone call from Gia's agent saying that she has landed her an audition for a movie called The Tooth Fairy with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Now, this movie has come out. I've never seen it, but obviously Gia does not get the part. And it was interesting to me because Teresa said how she's going to now need to get her acting classes. And I'm like, if your daughter is auditioning for movies with a literal A-list celebrity, why have you not invested yet in the acting classes already? So, I love this subplot. I think it is so funny. Now, we're not here to make fun of kids, but Gia is an adult now. She's making Bravo shows, something about like living in New York with a bunch of other Bravo kids that have grown up. We've got, Candy Baressa's daughter on the show. We have that Baroque one from Atlanta who was married to Croy. I never remember her name. She has a lot of plastic surgery and she's like bankrupting herself. Her daughter's also on that show. So obviously, Gia grows up and makes something of herself. But in this episode, she is a disaster. She goes to her acting class and she's just twirling her hair and saying her lines and busy being cutesy. And it is so painfully awkward to watch. Like every time she delivers a line, the acting coach's face is just like, what are you doing? This is not good.
Looking forward to lifting that pillow up and seeing the money, and all of a sudden, nothing's there. And what do you say?
My tooth is gone.
You have to really be upset when you say
My tooth is gone.
Don't smile when you're doing it.
Gia's destined to be a star.
My tooth is gone.
Ooh.
She can't remember her lines. She's missing a tooth, and she's supposed to be saying like she can't find it, and it's just really bad. She is ready for daycare, not Disney. It's also a great prelude to like one of the most famous songs of waking up in the morning, thinking about so many things. I can't wait for that episode to recap. And honestly, watching Gia try to learn how to be an actress when we know what she grows up to become It gave me chills, honestly. So next we step into Caroline's world. We're talking sauce pots, Sunday dinners, and hanging out with her daughter, Lauren. And it's really clear that they have a strong bond. They're in the kitchen together, they're sharing some laughs, they're cooking, and they're enjoying each other's company. And, you know, I really appreciate the family dynamics that the Manzo family has. Even though the parents are a little bit controlling, I think that it comes from a place of wanting their kids to be successful and wanting to be able to help set them up for that success, whatever the cost. We have a scene later in the episode where she sits down with Albie, her brother. Lauren sits down with her brother Albie, her dad, and her mom, and they're talking about her, you know, owning her own spa or salon one day. But this scene is also a classic mirror for the earlier scene with Jacqueline and Ashley, because we see, you know, a mother and a daughter who the mother really wants to connect and the daughter's not interested. And then we see this mirror of Caroline being really connected with Lauren and kind of pitting those two dynamics against each other. There's even a joke from Chris in a confessional about how Lauren only likes ugly guys. And it's really ironic because she actually ends up dating, falling in love, and marrying one of Albie and Chris's good friends. Now, I think they're actually divorced now, but it's just kind of funny because you're unintentionally shading one of your really good friends. This is also the episode where Lauren starts talking about wanting to own a salon, and Carolyn says to her, you know, if you're going to do beauty school, I want you to get certified. I want you to be able to do everything, not just go into it being like, I like makeup, but being able to do hair, do different kinds of beauty treatments, because she understands that's going to give her daughter more opportunity for success and a better shot at owning a spa one day. Then later, when Caroline and Albie and Lauren and her husband are all sitting down talking about Lauren going to beauty school, Albie says something about, do you think she's going to like it? And the dad says, who cares if she likes it? You know, this is not a democracy. This is a dictatorship. And that is their parenting philosophy in one line, really summed up. But again, like, I think it comes from a good place of wanting to support their kids, wanting them to be set up for success. The dad even talks about leveraging a connection he has to for Lauren to go see a beauty school that a friend of his runs, so she can probably, you know, get a better deal or, you know, get a guaranteed pass if she goes to the school that's run by a family friend. So Danielle's storyline in this episode, it's a Bravo sociology experiment. It is really uncomfortable for a lot of it. She's on the phone with her ex-husband who doesn't want to talk to her, which why would he? And she talks about how maybe one day after he has his wedding, they might be able to like be friends again, which is such a wild take. So she's calling him because he hasn't paid out her settlement yet. And she's really upset about the fact that she doesn't have any money. And, you know, I'm going to put a clip in.
I still haven't gotten my divorce settlement. And if I don't get my divorce settlement soon, I will lose my home. I will lose any means to be able to support my children.
We're gonna sprint. Go, Christine!
Wait, excuse me.
Come on, baby!
I cannot struggle financially anymore. Somebody has to come in and save me and my girls.
She talks here about how she needs someone to come in and save her and her girls. And that just, as a feminist, I truly believe a woman can be two things, who and what she wants. And I will defend that forever. But I also don't think you're setting your daughters up for success if you're saying that a man needs to come in and save you. Like, why can't you save yourself? Why can't you get a job? Why can't you provide for your daughters? You might not be able to live in this mansion in New Jersey and, you know, live a certain kind of lifestyle, but at least you're showing your daughters that they don't need a man to pay their way in life. And I think that that's a really important lesson for people to learn. Backing it up though, so Danielle is helping at CJ's birthday party, which it's not quite as extravagant as Taylor's birthday party for her daughter in the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, but it is definitely an extravagant housewives party. It's carnival themed, it's over the top, there's pony rides, there's face painting, there's bouncy castles and all kinds of fun things for the kids, and we see everybody coming and having a great time. But what's really uncomfortable about this episode for me is that Danielle purposely comes early to help set up, although it seems like everything is already set up, so it's just a filming opportunity. And she mentions that Ashley said she's going to be having a bunch of friends come over, and this just sets Jacqueline off because she purposely told her she couldn't have a party. She doesn't want to have to worry about watching over teenagers who might be trying to steal alcohol because she's going to have all these kids that she needs to look after. And I think that that's really valid. The way that Danielle goes about it is like almost judging Jacqueline's parenting choices. Like, oh, you didn't know Ashley's going to have all these people over, and then offers to go talk to her on Jacqueline's behalf. Saw in episode 1 that Jacqueline is a little bit not able to stand up for herself. She kind of lacks a backbone. She's a lot stronger in confessionals, but she definitely doesn't like to rock the boat. And that's kind of a theme throughout the episode. But she does say, like, I'm willing to go talk to her and find out what's going on. Like, Danielle, it's not your place. I would feel so uncomfortable if I was a teenager and one of my mom's girlfriends tried to come and talk to me about choices that I was making, because it's none of their fucking business. So Jacqueline says, well, if you want to talk to her, like, that's fine. I'm definitely going to be talking to her. So then they both go inside and go to Ashley's room. And there's this really uncomfortable scene where, you know, Jacqueline is trying to talk to Ashley, although she's a bit argumentative, but Ashley's got an attitude. So I can understand they have a bit of a toxic or a difficult dynamic. And Danielle keeps piping up like, don't give your mother a hard time. She already has to watch over all these kids. You better uninvite your friends. And like, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? What are you doing?
You said 5.
I did not say 5.
Ashley, that's too much.
No, your mom even told me 4
we'll
or
talk about
5.
this later. Let me get dressed. Let me get dressed.
Let me talk to you about this right now
You gotta
because
call
this is
them
making me
up
nervous. I
and
don't
get them
want
not
you
to
need to call
come.
the kids. Tell them no. You pick 5 people, come over. Listen to me. I'm gonna be
Why all of a
watching.
sudden
Would
change
you
your
quit
mind?
talking while I'm talking?
Ashley doesn't know when to remember that that's your mother you're speaking to. Don't disrespect her. And not on my watch. Not when I'm there. Do you promise you're not going to have a bunch of kids show up?
I promise.
Promise?
Yes.
All right.
Because don't make promises you won't keep, sweetie. You know I love you. I'm your biggest fan, honey.
So it's funny because we also see a confessional scene from Dina talking about how desperate Danielle is and that she just wants to really get into the family. Danielle came up to Dina and gave her a hug and tried to make up from the first episode. And, you know, Dina makes this jab that she wants to skin her and wear her like last season's Versace, which feels honestly like something Danielle would probably do. And later we get this really weird scene of Danielle running with her daughter. She says that they go on a run every day. And, you know, it's kind of trying to portray this like mother-daughter bonding time. But all I can think is that Christine and Jillian deserve a break because they go on this run with their mother. And then when they get back, they're forced to sit in her room and help her pick an outfit for the date that she has that night. And you can see Christine, her older daughter, is just so uncomfortable with the whole thing. She's like, yeah, you look amazing, great, and just desperately wants it to be like over. And it just also shows like that codependency that Danielle has with her daughters, that she needs them to be so involved in everything that she does. And then we get her infamous like cougar date kind of subplot in this episode. She has a date come to the house and they talk about the age gap. He is 26 years old. His name is Steve, and Danielle at this time is 45. Now, I don't judge an age gap. You can date anybody of any age as long as it's legal. Let's be honest. Like if you're 30, eyeing up an 18-year-old, even though it's legal, is really gross and creepy and not appropriate. But, you know, once you're in your 20s, 30s, if you're dating someone that's in their 50s, 60s, 70s, like I'm not going to judge you for that. Love is love, but we know that Danielle is not looking for love. She says all the time in the episode that she's looking for somebody to take care of her and her daughters.
Even though he's considerably younger than I am, I believe he's exactly what I need for right now. Seriously, young men are very attracted to me. I guess it's my appearance of youth, but I'm not looking for a boy toy. I'm really looking for someone who could take care of me and my children.
I don't know why she thinks that this like 26-year-old Steve, who's wearing a pinstripe suit and literally looks like he's fresh out of a Sopranos episode, is gonna be the one to do that. What's also interesting is how her and Steve met. She met him at a party and Joe brought Steve to that party. And Joe is, you know, Teresa's now ex-husband. ex-husband, but husband at the time. He's definitely got some involvement with some sort of criminal stuff. He did go to jail for fraud. So, kind of tracks that he's bringing this sort of wise guy looking New Jersey dude to a party and that Danielle's falling for him. This is sort of the tragedy of Danielle, is that she equates safety with someone else's wallet. And I just don't understand why she can't be more self-sufficient and do things for her daughter herself. Then we have a really strong pivot in the episode where we see a little bit of Jacqueline's fertility challenges. So she goes to see a doctor who I did look up because I'm like, does he have any drama? But he's highly rated, has a 5-star rating, and I think he's legit. She apparently got this introduction from Danielle, and she talks about, having had these 4 miscarriages, including one a month ago, and that her and her husband Chris have been trying for another baby since CJ was 6 months old. Now, at this point, we don't have a diagnosis for CJ yet. Now, in 2025, we know that he is autistic and has some developmental disabilities, but at that time, we didn't have that information. So I don't believe in a higher power or anything. I don't think another child was meant for them because it didn't happen for them. Whatever's meant for you is never going to pass by you. And she brings Ashley with her to the appointment. Now, Ashley doesn't come inside to the appointment. She just goes for the drive with her mom. But Ashley actually has a really nice moment of trying to share gratitude with her mother and said, there are people your age, Jacqueline's 38 in this season, that don't have any kids, and be grateful because you already have 2. You have a daughter and a son. Jacqueline does mention that in her confessional and says, but she does want to keep having babies. So I feel really bad for Jacqueline. I can't imagine the pain and the suffering of wanting to have more kids and just not being able to do that. This scene, though, is really powerful. It's raw, it's grounded. And with a franchise that is so obsessed with excess and sort of showing the polished version of everything, this is a really interesting moment that is a lot more human and it's a lot more authentic. And the bravery of Jacqueline to kind of showcase that journey in 2009, I don't think that's something that we talked about very often. So I really love that she was candid and vulnerable and able to share that part of her journey with the Bravo cameras.
For coming in. I was hoping that we can catch up and kind of regroup since the last time we spoke. As far as what's gone on so far, the fact that you and he have a child together speaks volumes. This could simply be a matter of just really bad luck.
4 times.
4 times.
Yeah.
Now, in that scene with Ashley where, Ashley tries to give her this gratitude moment, it's kind of interesting because she does try to comfort her by reminding her that she has a daughter and a son, but it just sort of emphasizes the distance that they really have in their relationship. But Jacqueline's vulnerability here makes her one of the most relatable housewives in this early franchise. And you can see some of the seeds of empathy that are gonna kind of create divisions as, the drama starts to unfold between Danielle and the rest of the group, puts Jacqueline in a bit of a difficult position, choosing between her friendship and her family. But, these are sort of early seed plantings for that upcoming drama. Then we take a swing back into the weird. So Dina has this foundation called Project Ladybug, which I actually ended up looking up. I could only find the 2016 filings, which obviously, math not my strong suit. I think that's, 5 or 6 or 7 years after 2009. In 2016, the revenue for Project Ladybug was $5,119. So that's all that they got that year. But the expenses were $138,294. So she had a negative net income of over $133,000. And they only have assets totaling $61,742. So I don't know what is going on with that. What's interesting is that Dina Manzo is both the president and the treasurer, so she's in charge of the money and the foundation. Then we also see a woman named Angela Rooney listed as vice president, and we see a Diana Lee Ross as secretary. It says that they didn't get any compensation, but I am wondering, what are all of those expenses? It doesn't really say here. Oh, we can go back a few more years. Hang on, let me go back here. So in 2009, there are no tax filing information. maybe she wasn't filing taxes yet, which would track for the Real Housewives of New Jersey. What's interesting though is that they were a little bit more profitable. So if we look at the year 2011, they had a revenue of $107,266. Their expenses $92,031. So they actually had a profit of $15,238. It seems like Project Ladybug is still a thing. I couldn't find a website for them, but they are active on social media. And I actually don't know how nonprofits work in the US. I'm in Canada. So, maybe there's something else going on down there. I don't know. But I did find that really interesting. So we're at the Project Ladybug fundraiser. Of course, it's taking place at the Brownstone, which is the family-owned event center that Dina also works at part-time. And the family dynamics really come out to play here. Ashley and Jacqueline are fighting because Ashley is supposed to be working the event and she's changed outfits 3 times. And, Jacqueline doesn't like that. She's trying to get her on the floor, while at the same time, she's literally running away from Dina, saying, I didn't think I was supposed to work this event. I thought I was here as a guest. And eventually at some point, Dina catches up with Jacqueline and says, what, you think you're here just to eat and drink? Like, start selling tickets. A little bit weird of an event. And then the other thing that was weird, I don't know who this guy is. I gotta Google this real quick. Okay, I can't find any information about that online, but there's this really uncomfortable scene where Dina has a very young boy who doesn't have a driver's license. So he could be 15, he could be 16, he could be 17, but he's very likely underage. Come into her home and interview for an assistant role. Now, she says that this is going to be an assistant for Project Ladybug, but then she's asking him if he's comfortable getting rid of spiders. Is he willing to bathe her Sphinx cat because it's starting to smell, a little funky? And those cats do need regular care and attention. Because they don't have fur, they do need regular baths. They're a very high maintenance type of animal. And then she's kind of looking at him, like smiling and seductively, and, alludes to being able to give him other forms of payment and asks if he would be open to that. And he says, yeah, hugs and kisses. And then at the end says something about a grandma hug or a grandson hug, but she didn't have any grandkids. I don't know who this child is, but that scene I found a little bit uncomfortable.
I'm getting ready to have a huge girls' night out fundraiser at the Brownstone. Aren't they gorgeous?
They're really nice.
I need an assistant who can just be my right-hand man. I can't do everything.
What if it makes you happy?
Really hoping it's going to work out because I think he'd be perfect for the job. Want a drink?
No, I'm good, thanks.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm good.
Might need one.
Oh, is it gonna be that fast?
Nah.
You can't pair like a noble cause of helping kids with cancer with this like really unhinged scene of almost like predatory behavior. Like, it's such a weird dichotomy that I honestly don't even know how to feel about it. It doesn't land as wholesome. This episode really comes across as like control masquerading as care. We see that play out with Caroline and how she's talking to her daughter about her career choices. We see that happen with Danielle and how she interacts with her daughters. And we even see it a little bit with Jacqueline and Ashley and their weird dynamic. Moms managing their kids. We see it with Teresa trying to be like the momager of Gia on this like weird journey to be a celebrity. We see friends managing friends, and we see producers obviously managing all of it behind the scenes. So even though Mama Knows Best is meant to show strength, it mostly shows a lot of fear in this episode. It shows the fear of aging. Am I able to have kids? Is Danielle going to be able to find her sugar daddy to take care of her and her daughters? It shows fear of loss. Is Jacqueline going to be able to celebrate having a pregnancy? She feels like she can't because she's always afraid of losing it. There's even a fear, I think, of losing her daughter, Ashley, and the relationship that they could have. And then there's this fear of irrelevance. Danielle wanting to be relevant, wanting to be loved. We want to see all of that happening. Next week, we have more chaos coming, and I can't wait to take it up with you, Sprinkles. It's going to be such a great episode. So if you haven't already, make sure you like this episode, leave a comment below, and let me know, what do you think about some of the dynamics that we're seeing play out early on, especially knowing what we do now. And hit that bell so that you're subscribed and you always get notified when a new episode drops. I'll see you soon.